Okay, welcome everybody to the Long Island show. My partner Mike Anthony will be joining us perhaps tonight. He's at a work meeting, so depending upon what happens with that, he may be joining us tonight. If not, he'll be back next week. Just something popped up for work for him. Obviously, it's a difficult week this week. Really, there is only one story. Um, you know, Other things have obviously happened every day, but this story, this terrible tragedy, took place 2 days ago. Um, Rightly is dominating the news cycle, and I hope that we continue to talk about it for a long time to come. Anyway, we are very privileged tonight to have Linda Beigel Schulman joining us tonight. Linda, of course, lost her son Scott Beigel 4 years ago at the school shooting that took place in Parkland, Florida. 17 people died in that attack. And since then, she's been an advocate. She is the founder of the Scott Beigel Memorial Fund, which honors Scott's memory. And she's obviously continuing his legacy of working with children. And she has a camp, I believe, to help teach and mentor children, continuing Scott's work. So without further ado, let me bring on Linda. Hi, Linda. Thank you for joining us tonight.
It's my privilege to be here. Thank you for having me.
Linda, I'm probably going to be the least experienced, most unpolished person you speak to anytime soon. But I thank you for. I reached out to you on the night of this tragedy, and you were gracious enough to agree to come on. So thank you so much.
Well, let me tell you something. I know that you're speaking with me from your heart. So that makes you probably one of the most polished people as far as I'm concerned.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Of course, I wish we could be talking about. There's not ever a good time to talk about gun violence, but it's particularly hard in the days and the aftermath of yet again another school shooting. And all these shootings are terrible. I mean, they're all horrible, but the school shootings, I think they resonate in a way because we're talking about children and teachers and so forth. And of course, you know firsthand what that's all about, having lost your son Scott. It's been 4 years now. Does it seem like it was? Does it seem like it was yesterday? How do you process the time?
It's actually been 1,563 days, but I will be counting every single day until I just can't count anymore. Uh, it always seems like yesterday. It's Somebody made the comment to me 2 days ago. They asked me to interview, and I said I really could not. I needed a day to process. I really just, I know I need to keep my voice heard, but I needed that day to process. And they actually turned around and said to me, "But you know what, Linda? Today it's new news. There's no such thing as new news. What are you kidding me? You're going to tell me it's new news today and tomorrow it's not? Is that what's happened to us? It's become so normalized that it's only new news on the day it happens. It's not new news. As far as I'm concerned, it's my everyday news.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I just this one, the one in Buffalo. It's torture for me. It's really torture, and not torture just because it takes me back, because it doesn't take me back. I'm always there. I wake up. I wake up every morning. It's there in front of me. I will never forget. I'll never forget that night in the command center when law enforcement called us in. It was about 10 minutes to 2 in the morning. And they leaned over and they said to me, we know that your son was a hero. And then 2 law officers over said, but he didn't make it. Those words ring in my ears. Those words are forever in my ears. So, you asked me the question and I told you it's torture. It's really torture also because I know that I know what these families are going through. I know that right now, 2 days ago, it was pretty much denial, and the next day, disbelief. And now what's happening is they're really getting prepared to bury their children, or the children burying the 2 teachers that they kissed goodbye in the morning. Those parents now, today is the second day that they got up in the morning and they didn't go and get their their son or their daughter ready for school, or didn't have breakfast with them. That's torture. I know that. And I just cannot believe that they're going through this again and again and again. And I mean, for me, it's so many days have passed and it's still in front of me, and they're just starting to live through it. We need to understand that. And now they're also so surrounded by people who, they're getting their funerals ready, and they're having to figure out the words that they need to say, and everybody's with them right now. But there's going to come a time where they wake up in the morning and they say, oh my God, how am I going to get through the day? Because everybody's going through the rest of their days, and now it's all on their shoulders.
Yeah. Um, I was actually, I was telling a friend of mine that I've had occasion to meet a lot of people, mostly through just trying to be politically inclined or whatever. But I was extremely nervous to have you on tonight. And part of it's because I'm not sure, all of us who are parents often say that we don't know how we would go on if we lost a child in any way. And the usual way you always think about is illness or something, some tragic accident or something. But this wasn't an accident. This was murder. And I don't even know. I remember the first time I met you, and I was like, I had the same feeling I have tonight, which is just, it's almost like I want to apologize, because I can imagine the pain that I can only imagine. I can only imagine the pain that you've been going through and so forth. Um, tell us a little something about Scott. Most of us on Long Island know that Scott was a Long Islander. You are a Long Islander, and of course, he was teacher in Florida, but he grew up here on Long Island. Tell us a little something about Scott, if you don't mind.
Well, Scott was 7 when he first went to sleepaway camp. He saw his sister went to sleepaway camp when he was 6, and he decided that we gave her so much attention and it was such a big deal that at 6 he decided no matter what he was going to sleepaway camp at 7. And so he actually did. I remember that, they, at that time, it's a long time ago, Scott will be 40 on October 22nd. It will be his 40th birthday. We'll actually have a run for Beigel on his birthday. That's another story. But anyway, they came to interview Scott to see, they came at that time to interview to see if the child they thought would, be ready for camp and be able to make it through, the season. And so when they left, Scott said he was all excited about it. And he said to me, but Mom, I can't go. I was like, what do you mean you can't go? He said, Mom, they make us write letters. Okay, they make us write letters 5 days a week. I don't want to write letters. I can't go to camp if I have to write letters. So, and there's a reason for this story. Yeah. And so I said to him, I have an idea. It's not a problem. We can work on this. So now remember, he wasn't 7 yet. He was turning 7. I was teaching my son to cheat. I said, this is what we're going to do. And I bought him a one of those plastic lunch boxes. At the time, the hard plastic blue had Scott written all over it. We put all, baseball bats, and we put basketballs, we decorated it at the time. And inside, I went and I bought that stationery that had like the bubbles on it. Camp is great. I'm having a good time. I wish I was home. The food is, good, bad, whatever. And long story short, I made up return labels with the address of the camp and labels to put on there that said, Mom, where I live, my address. And we put them on the envelopes together. And the only thing he had to do was put the stamp on. I sent him with stamps. And I told him, I said, now all you have to do is fill in the bubbles, but make sure that you just sign Scott and fold it in a certain way. So when it looks through the envelope, it looks like you wrote me a letter. He was fine with that.
Yeah.
So I sent him to camp with that. And the reason for the story, he actually went when he was 7. Camp really actually let him be whoever he wanted to be. That's where he became Scott at camp. There's no doubt in my mind. And it was 2 weeks before the murder. I had gone to Florida. Scott Scott taught in Florida. I went to Florida. I visited, my whole family lived in Florida at the time, except my husband and myself. And I had been cleaning out some closets and found this blue lunchbox. So I brought it with me to Florida, and we were spending the evening. We had dinner, the whole family, and I gave Scott the lunchbox, and we had a good laugh, so on and so forth. And I showed him what was in there because I had saved it. I actually saved every single letter from both my kids from sleepaway camp. I still have those. There's certain things that you just don't get rid of. And so anyway, we laughed, so on and so forth. On the 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, I get this letter in the mail with that exact envelope and that label on it that says Mom. I open it up, and Scott had filled in all of that letter. No more bubbles, filled the whole thing in. And I called him up on the phone and I said, you wrote more on this letter than you ever wrote before. We chuckled. We ended the conversation. I said, I love you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I spoke to Scott once a day. He would either call me when school was over, just like a hi, Mom, how you doing? Or if he wanted to share something about teaching or so on and so forth, or his cross-country team. I said, I love you. I'll speak to you tomorrow. And that was really the last time I ever heard Scott's voice. Again, the story goes where, this is what I was talking about before, I had to pull my bootstraps up and I had to speak at my son's funeral. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And I knew that I had decided that I was going to celebrate Scott's life no matter what it took and not mourn his death. So I took the letter that he wrote me. I brought it to the funeral. I brought the lunchbox, brought the letter, and I answered the letter and wrote Scott back. And that was my way of eulogizing Scott. I shared the letter with everybody, I read it to them, and I wrote back. But Scott was just that way. Scott was all about the underdog. Scott loved camp, went into teaching so he could go back to camp, because he learned really quick, you can't quit your job, go back to camp, be a counselor at camp and then get a new job. It doesn't work. And he was just, he went to camp summer after summer. He actually volunteered in South Africa for 2 months. I have so many Scott stories. I don't make you sad. I love to talk about my son. He went to South Africa and he volunteered for 2 months. When he came home, he went with 2 suitcases. He came home, he had no suitcases. So I was like, I can't believe they lost your suitcases, the airlines, what's going on? He's like, Mom, with the hand up, Mom, relax. That was Scott, Mom, relax. I left my suitcases on purpose. They needed my stuff more than me. He said, Mom, they bang on those bars to get into school. He said, and here they pray for snow days. He said, and here they're so worried about what style Nikes they have. There they're so happy for shoes. This is what made Scott Scott. Scott had these experiences. Scott lived life and taught the way he wanted to be taught. He lived life the way he treated people, the way he wanted to be treated. If he saw a kid in the grocery store who was sad, he would walk up to them, didn't know the kid. I mean, and walk up and goes, is it really that bad? What is so bad? Let's talk about it. That was Scott. Scott was just, he was really, I never realized how amazing my son was really until after he was murdered, because I get letters. His students I still keep in touch with his students. I get letters from parents. I get letters from the kids. I get texts, on the holidays, people just don't know what to say to you. You know what I mean? It's a Mother's Day and people don't know what to say.
So, Linda, I don't know if you can see our screen. Can you see the screen? You see this photo?
Oh, sure, I can, yes.
Okay, tell us about this photo. Who's in this photo?
Oh, to the left in the black is my mother. That's his grandma. He loved Scott was had very dry humor and sarcastic. He loved to tease my mother. And my mother, it took her so many years to learn to deal with his teasing. They had a love between them that was beyond. He went every weekend, at least one of the days of the weekend, he'd have brunch with my mom and my dad. That's Scott, apparently, myself, and that's my father. And my dad passed about 10 months before Scott. And Scott made sure to take care of his grandma. And he was not a mama's boy. Scott was anything but a mama's boy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But he loved his grandparents, and he had quite a bond with them. And my mom's still alive today, and that was her. That was her. I mean, he was her everything when it came to grandson. And Scott was great. He was my go-to person. Scott and I had the kind of relationship where he would always say, you know what, Mom, we could say anything to each other, and we used to say, and unfortunately it's true, we used to say, no matter what we say, what keeps between the two of us, we'll take it to the grave. And you know what, unfortunately it's really true.
I'm so sorry. Um, and let me bring up a picture of the latest victims of this latest senseless gun
Ray, I
violence.
have to tell you, last night when I did an interview before my interview on the on the on the newscast, they actually talked about each one of these students. They gave something about the students, and I just bawled my eyes out, because anybody listening, I just want you to just, I need you to realize something. There's so many things we take for granted. Please do it for me, do it for Scott. Don't ever let your kid go to bed without a hug and saying, I love you. And I'm not trying to make anybody sad, but please don't ever take that for granted. And they were talking about these kids, and you have to understand something. These kids went to school in the morning. They were going home. They were going home. They were going to get home. And you know what? Their parents don't get those hugs anymore. And I'm begging everybody to work with me and help me make sure this doesn't keep happening. We can't say it's just another mass shooting. There is no such thing as just a mass shooting. Really, please, just work with me, work with us. Let's get reasonable gun safety legislation passed. And I know we can do it. I know it hasn't been done yet, but I know we can do it, and we will do it. I'm telling you, we will, because I don't want anybody to come into my club anymore. I want to shut the door to my club and say, no more members allowed.
Um, I have to confess, Linda, when this story broke, well, I'll tell you that I've been driving up to for work. I've been driving up to Massachusetts, New England, New Hampshire, all that area. It's beautiful. But I made it a point on a trip probably about 6 weeks ago or something like that. I wanted to pass by Sandy Hook in Connecticut and, just, soak it in for a minute or two or whatever. So I drove and I sat there and I thought to myself, it's a beautiful area, but you have this feeling when you're there. And, you know, I got angry. And so what I'm saying is that when this incident happened, I didn't feel hurt. I didn't feel sad. I feel sad today. I didn't feel sad. I felt rage and I felt anger
Me
that this
too.
continues to happen. And, I don't, some people say, and this isn't broadcast TV, Linda, and I'm a little bit different. So forgive me for speaking bluntly, but, the fact of the matter is it pisses me off when people say, oh my God, you're making this political. No, you're making it
You're
political.
making right. Thank you.
And we're reacting to it. I can't think of a better reason. And obviously, this issue, for whatever reasons, breaks down heavily on party lines for whatever reasons. And there are a lot of issues that I can agree with Republicans on. Some issues, not a lot, but some issues. My parents are Republican. My brother's a Republican. I grew up a Republican. I was a Republican. Whatever. By no means do I hate them, but when it comes to some of these things, it really pisses. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because here we are. It's Thursday night. It's Memorial Day weekend, and the NRA is apparently having their convention tomorrow. And some of the same politicians who had a press conference yesterday talking about this senseless murder are now going to have speeches that they're giving at the NRA. I mean, if again, forgive my language, but it's pretty fucked up in my mind, and it makes me really goddamn angry. And I don't know how to express it any other way. I mean, how do you feel, Linda?
Let me tell you how we express it, and I mean it, okay? Because talk is cheap
Yep.
and actions are what's going to work. There are three pieces of legislation that are such common sense, has nothing to do with the right or the left. It has to do with the middle. We need to meet in the middle, whatever it takes. And I am not preaching. I mean this from the bottom of my soul. Okay. 3 pieces of legislation, universal background checks. Let's talk about it for one moment. Okay.
Yep.
What, and it doesn't matter what party line, because this is not, should not be political. Okay. Unfortunately, it's all about money. Okay.
Right.
And I'm sorry if I'm jumping around,
No.
but universal background check. None of us, I do not talk about me, do not want to take away anybody's guns. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to take it away. I want you to be a responsible gun owner. I want you to have gone through a background check. I want you to know how to store that gun safely. Okay. No gun owner, wherever I speak, whoever I speak to, and I speak anywhere I can, okay, with gun owners, non-gun, there are people who don't want guns, people have, nobody answers the question, do you want to be safe, with the answer no. Gun owners, most of them want other gun owners to be responsible, because when something happens, and with someone who owns a gun, all people now who own guns become vilified. It's ridiculous. Universal background checks, federal universal background checks. Everybody should get a background check. Should they be able to own a gun? That's first. Second, the red flag law.
Right.
And I don't know if people know what it is, but if the red flag law had been passed in Florida on February 14th, 2018, Valentine's Day, my son and 16 others would be alive today. The red flag, well, today he's a murderer. We used to call him the active shooter. We never give the name of the person who shot. I'm not giving anyone notoriety. We beg. We call all that. My husband and I will call any station and beg them not to mention his name. But that murderer, because he confessed to murdering 17 people, 2 years prior, everyone knew he was trouble. They used to call him Crazy Boy in school. He actually, when they had a run for Beigel, Scott's cross country team had a run for Beigel 5 days after the shooting, and the teacher came up to me. Her name was Debbie. We'll leave her last name, and she said to me, she said, "I want you to know I had him in my class for 2 years, and they were going to give him to me for a 3rd year, and I told them I would resign my position." People knew. They knew he was bad. They knew his aunt called the sheriff's office and the FBI to tell them that she thought that he could be of harm to people. Okay. There was no red flag law. Had there been one, there would have somebody would have gone to court, the law officer, the school, the teacher, anybody in staff. They could have gone to school, gotten an extreme risk protection order, an ERPO, or that's why it's called the red flag law, and gotten that, and had an officer gone to the house, taken out the weapons, okay, and he would have had to appear in court. He could have an attorney appear in court, and they do an assessment. He would have never gotten those weapons back, and he would have never been able to do that. Now, fast forward. Florida has a red flag law now. We passed a red flag law in Florida weeks later. They've used it over 3,000 times. That's 3,000 times there could have been a potential murder.
Yep.
Somebody says to me, well, they had a red flag law in Buffalo. They did. But it didn't work. So what do you need a law for? Well, let me see. We have laws for drunken driving, I think, and more times than we care to know, a drunken driver has killed somebody with a car. We still need the law.
Right.
Somebody dropped the ball, but we need that law. We need that red flag law federally. Yep. Right now it's in 19 states, but each state has a little bit twist to it. It needs to be a federal law. Why would we not want? We're not taking away anybody's Second Amendment right. But you don't have the right to murder somebody. Right. And even if the person legally obtained the weapon, because think about it, 18-year-olds can go out, they can't get a beer, they can't buy a beer in Florida, they can't buy a beer in Texas, but they can go and buy an assault weapon at 18 years old. So if everybody had the same red flag law and people know that there's some, even if you obtain it legally, I'm sorry, you obtain it legally, and then all of a sudden something happens in your life. People get divorced, something happens, whatever the instance, and that person who now has that legal weapon snaps, somebody would know there's something wrong and maybe red flag it. And if there was nothing wrong, those weapons go right back. That's the red flag law. Now let's talk about one more that also makes everybody that much more safe. And again, nothing political. It doesn't matter what the politics are, okay? What about the assault rifles ban? The
Right, right,
assault rifle ban.
right,
Who needs, first of all, you don't use an AR-15 for hunting because unfortunately I know too well. My son was shot 6 times within 3 seconds from 5 feet away by an AR-15. Okay. You shoot an AR-15, that bullet goes into whatever it's shot into, and it basically explodes inside that body. So there's no way you use that for hunting because whatever you're going to shoot is not going to be able to be taken away, be obliterated. Okay. You don't need that. Who needs that? Oh, and so I hear people say to me, well, it's like, I love my AR-15. It's really, I never use it. You don't need to have it. Even people in the military say you should not have that weapon. That's a weapon of war. That is a weapon to kill people.
yeah. Linda, we as you know, we broadcast live on Facebook, and I apologize, guys. Mike is usually handles this, and I'm a little bit I'm not doing too well right now, so you can tell. But I just want to share some of the comments with you. Dominique, my friend Dominique Demore says, absolutely strong universal background checks. This kid in Texas bought 2 AR-17s and 300 rounds of high-capacity ammunition. That's a red flag itself. No one asked a question. Hello, people. Ned Newhouse says, let's see, I have to write first. I'm sorry for your loss. Unnecessary event for him to be taken away. If it's about money, as you say, why would the NRA be so against ghost guns and homemade guns? I don't know. I have no idea.
I can answer that question.
Sure.
Why they're so against them.
Yep.
Okay, I can answer that question. I don't know that they are against them. I'm not sure. But let's talk about ghost guns.
Yep.
Ghost guns are another thing. I mean, that's a topic in and of itself. When they wanted to name a legislation after my son, and I think that they did, the Scott J. Beigel Unfinished Receiver Act, which makes ghost guns illegal. Do you know what a ghost gun is?
Yeah. I've seen too many stories on 60 Minutes about ghost guns.
Basically, you can go online on a Monday. You can order the parts. Well, you can't do it in New York anymore. Now in New York, it's illegal. But you can go online on Monday. You can order the parts. And by Wednesday or Thursday morning, they'll be delivered to wherever you want them delivered. Okay, you take them out of the box. There's instructions. You can go on YouTube. I mean, it's really pretty simple. Okay, you take them out. You put the parts together the way they tell you. You get a drill, nothing fancy. I mean, I'm not a carpenter. I can take that drill. You drill a couple of holes, 4 or 5 holes. You put the pieces together. You now have a working firearm with not traceable, totally untraceable. Now, I'm going to ask the question and give me an answer. What do we own without a serial number? Your telephone, your computer, your washing machine, your whatever, a sink part, you name it. I don't care what it is. Your car, you have your car as a serial. What do we own without a serial number? Cans of food have serial number, tags on your shirt. Why in the world should we have a firearm without a serial number? What are we doing?
Everything that you're talking about, I think, would be classified. And Steve Israel used to use the term, common sense, right? Common sense. This is all common sense.
Common sense. That's all, just common sense. But ghost guns right now are out all over the place. There's so many ghost guns out there. That should be something. I mean, 4 years ago, very few people knew what a ghost gun was. And we started talking and talking and talking. As a matter of fact, my friend Scott and I, we had this Scott J. Beigel Unfinished Receiver Act passed in the Senate twice and couldn't get it passed in the Assembly. So what we did was we invited everyone from the assembly in New York to come on a Zoom with us. And we kind of guilted them if they didn't. Okay. And they came on and we explained, we showed photos, we showed pictures, we drew, we did everything. We explained to them about ghost guns. And you know what? It passed because people had to stop. They had to stop what they're doing. They had to get out of their own way. Okay. And they had to watch. I mean, I remember one of the, and it's not Republican Democrat anymore when it comes to ghost guns, because I remember one of the Republicans called me up, and when I answered the phone, I thought to myself, "Oh God, he's going to give me a hard time." Okay, actually, it was Mario Matera. I'm very proud of the fact that he stood up and he called me and he said, "You know what, Linda?" He said, "I believe in what you're doing." He said, "I will co-sponsor the bill for you," and he
Wow.
didn't care what anybody had. That's what we need. Those are the kind of people need to, or, I used to say to my kids when I wanted to talk to them and I wanted them to listen, I used to say, I need you to erase your mind and listen to my words. I actually get up in front of people in a college and tell these people that are way smarter than I am, okay, you guys, would you do me a favor? Sit back and erase your mind and just listen to my words. Because it makes sense. Let go of that other BS. It makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, Linda, I tell you, I'm so inspired by your words because I felt as though I was losing hope, and I really
Never
said to myself,
lose hope, Ray. Never,
uh,
never, never.
I know it's tough because I said to myself, you see what's going on in this country and you see the divide, and then you see the comments, and I'll tell you, it's funny, Linda. I like what do they call them, landscape photos too, but it's amazing. It's just remarkable. Coincidentally, yesterday, the day after the shooting, so many landscape photos on Facebook. Why? Because there were so many people who just wanted to turn the page and didn't want to address it and said, uh, another day. And you know what? We just move on and things happen. And I'll tell you the truth, Linda. I've got children and I've got young children, and as much as I see um, Scott's photo in my mind, and I see the photos of these kids, being that they're not our family, it's easy to forget. What I see is my children.
That's
And
right.
what I see is this roulette wheel that they should just spin at the convention tomorrow, because what that on that wheel could be any school district in this country that could be the next place of attack, the next victims. And that's how I feel. And I say, what stops this from happening in my home district, Seaford? Nothing, zero. They talk about all the good things. They talk about putting armed security guards. It's not going to happen. They talk about mental health, increasing mental health. I want to increase mental health awareness. I think that's great. But you know what? We've got a board down there that just got elected on the idea that they're spending too much money on everything. How are they going to fund all these things? To me, the easiest way is to say, please, let's have these common sense laws, and we have them in New York, but we don't have them in other places in the country. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering. And the point is that we all know that guns can travel like people across state lines, with people across state lines,
Sure,
without
the
these federal
pipeline.
legislation. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
We have quite the pipeline. Absolutely.
So
Let me
frustrating.
tell you, it's, I wish I didn't. I see somebody with their, I see somebody with their child, whatever age it is. I've learned not to do with my grandkids because it was destroying me. But I see somebody with a child, and I'll always go over and say hello and ask, how old is so and so? How old is your son? How old? When somebody says to me, well, he's 10, in my mind, I can't stop it. I say, okay, he's 10. In my mind, can you imagine 25 years from now that he'd be murdered? I mean, because Scott was 35. And that's what I did for quite the time. I look at my grandkids. I have my granddaughter's 5. My grandson's going to be 7 in 2 months. And I look at them and I say to myself, oh my God, you know what I mean? Oh my God. I hope nothing happens to them. And I hope they get, I hope they get to outlive Scott. It's just, there are things that you just can't help. But the truth of the matter is we can do something about it. We really can. And I'm not, this is so important to me. We have elections coming up, okay? And somebody will say, well, what are you? Okay, I'm a Republican. I'm going to do all red, or I'm a
Right,
Democrat. I'm going to
right,
do all blue.
right.
No, 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 no. And I mean it. I would do anything. I mean, if I could go house to house and bring literature in each community about what these people are running, and this is what they believe in. And the only thing I want to talk about what they believe is gun safety. This is what so-and-so believes in gun safety. This is what so-and-so believes in this. And you know what? You vote for whoever you want, but I want you to know that this person does not believe in gun safety, nothing gun safety. This person really believes it, because until we do our homework, if we want to be safe and we want our kids, grandkids, our friends, our coworkers to be safe, we need to do some homework. Because in this day and age, it doesn't just happen. Nothing in this day and age just happens, okay? Except mass shootings, okay? And I'm sorry I'm being obnoxious, but that's really how I feel. That other stuff doesn't just happen. We're not going to wake up one day and our politicians, are going to stop worrying about being reelected and start doing their job. I mean, maybe we have a handful that we know that do that, but the truth of the matter is, how many people, how many of our elected officials or wanting to be elected officials can honestly say, vote for me, give me a chance, vote for me. And whatever their term is, in 2 years, if you don't see that I've done what you wanted me to do, or I haven't performed in the way, then don't elect me again. How many? None of them. I mean, 2 people before I endorse anyone, okay, but especially I'm very careful right now because of the fund, but before I stand with someone, okay, and I will, endorse them, so to speak, I make sure that we speak face to face, whether it's on a Zoom or in my office or whatever it is, okay? And I ask my questions and I ask them, what are they doing? And then I say, what can we do together when it comes to gun safety? And let me tell you something. If that answer is not what I want, I'm not voting for that person. I don't care what party they're in.
Yep.
Because until we do that, people say, oh, we got to get rid of this. So we got to get rid of this. The only way that we're going to get it put back together listen, I'm old. So what I remember of democracy, so to speak, where we meet in the middle, okay, where there's crazy rights and crazy lefts and moderate and liberal. But if we meet in the middle when it comes to, let's talk about gun safety, then you know what? That's who we elect. Otherwise, if we don't, and you go to the ballot box and you just go straight across the line, and this person has nothing to do with gun safety, I can name a whole bunch of them. I mean, that they vote no, 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 no. They have to vote no, no, because then what's happening is what they are afraid they won't get reelected because they won't get the money from where it comes from to be. What are we're doing that circle jerk. And until we wake up and say, we want to make the change, because they're not going to make the change. They're not. Look what they're doing. They're not changing.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen.
Linda, correct me if I'm wrong. I saw you last night on CNN on the Don Lemon show. And right before you came on, if I remember correctly, they were talking about how when gun legislation was recently changed in the state of Vermont, I think it was, which is a pretty gun-friendly state, with under a Republican governor, if I remember the statistic, they saw gun violence drop by something like 27% in the first year. Does that sound right to you? It was like an immediate, right?
That's what they had said.
Yes. It was an immediate thing, and so it can happen, right? It's not impossible for people of both sides, the Republican side, to put forth legislation that makes common sense, puts forth common sense laws and so forth. So, listen.
I mean, right now, if you think about it, and it has nothing to do with what they believe in, okay? And I'm not trying to get political, but in order to get anything done gun safety wise, we're really being held hostage by 50 senators.
Yeah. Right.
50 senators. Right. We the people are being held hostage by who we elected.
Right.
Really?
Right. Well, listen, I will confess, Linda, and I probably there's nobody more in politics I dislike. Well, maybe there's a few, but Ted Cruz is top of the list, and you can name your least favorite senator if we want, but for me, it's always been Ted Cruz. He's just a disaster, walking disaster, and God bless for having the audacity to show up at that disastrous convention tomorrow in his home state. along with the other one as well. But whatever that governor's name is, Abbott.
Can you
Or whatever.
imagine? And from what I learned on CNN yesterday, just so you know what I learned, because his name is Mayor Taylor. He
Okay.
was amazing. He spoke. From people were really annoyed that the mayor would not close it down and tell them that they can't have that conference there.
Yeah, I saw him. Yeah.
From what I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because I know you watched as well. He does not have the right. He cannot
Right.
do it.
Right.
Once that contract has been signed and once it's there, he cannot do it. It's the first thing he would do. But he's asked them, begged them, please, you can change the venue, you can change the date, and they refuse. They absolutely. And I'm not at the meeting. I'd love to be at the meeting. I'd like to be a bug on the wall on the meeting. I'd like to be at the meeting and I would be quiet, believe it or not. I would be quiet. But I guarantee you that this topic doesn't come up because we can't talk about this topic. But I can give you somebody that they should be very friendly, and you can bring up Ted Cruz, right? So I'm allowed one.
Go ahead.
Marco Rubio. Let the two of them get together, okay?
Another disaster.
Because I don't call it Florida.
Right.
I apologize to any Floridians who are watching, but I call it Florida, okay?
Right.
Because you gotta be kidding me.
Right.
They had the Parkland massacre there.
Right.
What are they doing?
Right. Yeah, it's just awful. I mean, just but I have to tell you, and I'm not just saying this, but I find speaking with you tonight to be so inspiring and so uplifting, really, under difficult circumstances. Obviously I look like shit because I feel like shit, but it's just.
Well, that's not true, and you're supposed to be telling the truth online. So.
Well, it's just been tough, and you try not to get angry at friends who disagree with you about this issue. But I'm like, are you stupid? Are you not seeing what we're seeing? And what is this that you don't get? And that's why I mentioned these stupid landscape photos and stuff that they're trying to distract with, and just hoping that time passes and you can just change the topic and turn the page. But I really hope that those images of those kids, at least some of them, stick with some people. And as I said, for me personally, I see my kids, and I have this thing in my mind about you always have these photos of loved ones when you lose them, but I always worry about, am I gonna forget what their voices sound like, and that to me is like, it spooks me in a way that I can't even explain. And the idea that could happen at the hands of some idiot. I mean, I'm not saying that, some idiot with a gun, it can do that, just drives me crazy. But I'm inspired to actually do something about it, not just say the words. And so, I think, and I think I will get more active. And, I thank you for your time tonight. I know that you've been on any number of other shows, and I know everyone wants to talk to you, obviously, because
this one was great because we really got to have a conversation, just a conversation. And, I didn't have to have notes and I didn't have to think. I could just say what I wanted. But can I say one thing? And I don't know how much time we have left.
We have as much time as you want.
Oh, you say something about voice. You don't know what the voice. So can I tell a little story? When Scott was a counselor at camp, and one of the things he did one day, he decided, as a camper walked by, he'd say, "Show me happiness." Show me, and they do something stupid. You know what I mean? Show me anger. Show me fun. And one of the campers must have turned around to Scott and said, "Show me whatever it was." I have no idea. But the thing he did at that time was he went, "Hey," just like that. So I literally have a snippet because one of the campers must have videoed this whole thing and sent me that. And when I get a text message, probably drives everyone else crazy. When I get a text, my phone goes, "Hey." So you talk about, I can't believe you even said it, that, I hear his voice every day.
Yeah. That it's like a thing I have where I just think about, like, and I it's like a thing I don't even talk about, because how can you? But I see my family, and I think, if I don't see them again, will I remember their voice? Is it seared in my head enough? And I think the answer is yes. And I don't want to find out anytime soon. I'm just saying that's like a thing in my mind. And it just makes me so angry when I hear about these stories. And, and it's By the way, I don't know if you saw Linda today. I'm sure you did. That apparently the husband of one of the victims of the shooting died today of a heart attack, and I believe he was. They had
A
four
broken
children.
heart. It's a broken heart.
It's just unbelievable. I mean, the amount of tragedy, and obviously it's directly correlated to this whole thing. Add him to the list of victims for this piece of garbage, whatever his name is. But
And you know
you
what's
know,
so sad? There's nothing good about it. And this is going to sound awful, but we're being honest.
yeah,
To me, the only thing that these people are lucky about is the fact that the shooter's dead. And I
yeah,
know that sounds it. You have no idea, because I sit here, and the murderer who took the lives of 17 people in Parkland pled guilty to 17 murders, and now they're doing what they call the penalty phase. So the prosecuting attorneys want the death penalty. It's a perfect death penalty case. But so now he's on trial. He's not on trial yet. They're still picking a jury. They've been picking a jury for months. Okay, they can't get a jury. They can't get a jury. They're like 3,000 people, and they still can't get a jury.
right,
And so we will. So if they finally get a jury, and they go for the death penalty, if anybody knows the law in Florida, especially in Florida, it takes like 18 years, because they'll get a verdict, and then they'll go to appeal the verdict, and then they get to start again, and then they go appeal. So it's like 18 years. I'll probably be dead and gone. I would like to have closure when it comes to that.
yeah,
And so, to me, and there's no silver lining in anything, but I'm so glad for these people that they don't have to go through a
yeah,
trial. It's beyond belief that you'll go through a trial, and you'll sit there, the penalty phase, and you have to go through the whole thing over and over and over again.
yeah.
It's terrible.
Oh, listen, Linda. Unfortunately, you have a perspective that I mean, I was going to say not too many other people have, but you give it a voice that I think we can all relate to, and you inspire us. And how are you doing? How is your family doing at this point?
Um, we definitely get rattled. We've gotten rattled a little too much within the last month with the mass shootings, but we're very excited about, I'll plug it. I have the Scott J. Beigel Memorial
Yeah,
Fund,
yeah,
and
yeah,
what we do is, in honor of Scott, because he loved camp so much, we send at-risk, disadvantaged children touched by gun violence. What child hasn't been touched by gun violence today? You don't have to be shot to be touched by gun violence. At-risk, underserved children touched by gun violence to summer sleepaway camp, because my philosophy is I don't want to rehabilitate the children. I want to have them start on a path and go to sleepaway camp, be kids, be safe, see what it's like. I have these kids. The first year we sent 54 campers to camp. Last year we sent 165 campers to camp. This year my goal is 200 campers to camp. And I spend my summer. I visit the kids that we send to camp. I spend time with them. It's probably the most selfish thing in the world that I do, because what I feel and what I get out of it is beyond compare. We actually see some of the kids off on the bus. Go up and visit them. They're amazing up there. I visit them, in between the times, and right before they're getting on the bus to come home, I get tears, and they're crying, and they don't want to go home. And we tell them that if they stay in school, stay away from guns and gangs, and they toe the mark, we will send them back year after year for 10 years until they become counselors in training, CITs, and then they pay it forward. So in order to do this, besides just donations, we have 3 events. We have the Run for Beigel in Long Island. This year it's going to be on his actual 40th birthday, where I actually, because I'm crazy, celebrate his birthday. And I always have. I would call Scott on 1 minute after 12, and I'd go, "It's your birthday," and he'd go, "Mom." And then I would call him 1 minute before the next 12 o'clock the next day and go, "You only have 60 seconds left for your birthday," And it was just I'm a birthday baby. I think
Yeah.
everybody, that's their day. So
Right.
we make a big deal about his birthday. We have a run on that weekend. And coming up, we have Remembering Scott, which really came about because a lot of the counselors would come to New York the week before they would go off to camp to be counselors, before they got camp set up. And they'd hang out and they'd have a blast and they'd all hang out. So when Scott was murdered, they wanted to know, what are we going to do? And I said, well, we're going to still do the same thing. Not a problem. I said, and you know what? We'll have a Remembering Scott. And it stuck. So this year, Remembering Scott is on June 14th. And I don't know about anybody else, but some of those fundraisers, it's like you want to just send money and say, do I really have to go?
Right.
It's like, and so I didn't want to do that. And so I took the theme from Scott's bar mitzvah, which was Carnivagus.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I decided that, and remember, Scott was going to be 40, so it was a long time ago. At that time, the parents and the kids all interacted, and it was a lot of fun. The parents were teaching the kids how to gamble, and the kids were taking the parents to the carnival games. So we are going to do that. I actually have real gambling tables, casino tables, so on and so forth. And I have a real carnival going on. And it's not going to be a hafta, because Scott and I really hated haftas. We looked at
Right.
wanas instead of haftas.
Right. Right.
So this fundraiser for me is really a labor of love. This is all about Scott, especially this one. And I would love anybody who can come and join us to do this. I would love you to come, Ray. I honestly would love you.
I was just thinking that right now. I was just thinking
It
if
is,
I'm not on traveling up to New England, I will be there. That's a promise, and I'm looking
it
forward to
is
it.
just, yeah, it's going to be so much fun. From the time you walk in, it's totally interactive. I actually have I have a virtual roller coaster. I mean, I have done anything and everything so that when somebody leaves here, they've said, oh my God, I didn't want to come another fundraiser, but I had the best time.
Yeah, and folks, we put up on the screen, obviously, you can see it there. And if you just, it's sjbmf.org, but all you have to do is type in Scott Beigel on Google and it comes right up. So the Scott Beigel Memorial Fund, that's how I found it. It comes up in half a second. Linda, you've been so generous with your time. You inspire me. And, guys, I apologize if I didn't get to all the comments. Cut me a little bit of a slack tonight. Give me a little bit of a wide berth because this was tough. And, but I'm happy that we got to have a real conversation, and I look forward to seeing you in person. And I tell you that, I am so motivated on my end to actually back up the words with action. And I think I will listen to what you said and probably play this interview back for myself personally, just so I can hear, how to talk to people and how to talk about common sense legislation without getting too partisan, and trying to channel the anger in a way that's productive. So I thank you for everything, Linda. And I can't give you a hug, but I'm sending you a hug by virtual hug, and I look forward to giving you
one on June 14th.
Absolutely.
I'm taking that hug.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Linda. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay, folks, there you have it. I don't have much else to say. I think we did a good amount of time together, and the time flew a little bit, but Linda's great. And I hope people do listen, because what you don't sense is she's so productive and proactive is the word, proactive. She's so proactive in her advocacy. And I meant what I said, that I was just so angry about what happened. And, I obviously don't know any of the victims, but, just so pissed. And you hear some of the comments and some of the debate, and it's the same shit over and over again. And, this doesn't happen in red state. When it happens in New York, they'll say, oh, it doesn't happen in red states. And then it happens in Texas. And then they say, oh, well, you know what? It's because the teachers don't have guns. And then wait a minute. So what do you want to do? You want to have every teacher have a gun? Yes. Well, what about, my 80-year-old kid's English teacher? You want to give her a gun? She's, whatever. Well, no, not everyone can have a gun. So should I pick teachers for my kids based on who has guns? Are you gonna pay for the teachers to go get trained, or you just want to give them a gun and have fun? What happens if a teacher kills a student because they thought that they had a weapon and they don't have a weapon? What does that wrongful death suit look like? You talk about school safety guards, and let's put in the ex-military. You guys don't want to pay for books. You're complaining about every goddamn school budget. Where do you think the money's going to come from? Oh, that we have the money somehow. Show me. I would love to know. You want to hire more mental health experts? It's just a buzzword. I mean, it's just a thing to say because nobody really means that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I want more mental health too. Let's do it. Nothing stops us from doing that tomorrow. Nothing precludes us from doing that tomorrow. Who's going to do that? The governor of Texas? Please, just please. So I don't want to finish on a bad note. I really don't. Linda's terrific, and I don't want to diminish from what she said, and I don't want to ramble. I can, but I don't want to. At least not on here. Anyway, I hope everyone has a good week. Let's see what the next few days bring. And I say it sarcastically because there are these types of shootings that happen every goddamn day in this country. And I hope that people get angry enough. Really, truly, they won't get angry until some people won't get angry. Some people, unless it happens to somebody that they know. And that's really sad. I have to somehow convince myself of a way of talking to these people because I think they're just in a different world than I am. But, whatever. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Linda. And hope everybody has a good Memorial Day weekend. Thank you, Greg Levine. Forgot to tell you. Thank you, Greg Levine, for facilitating this. And also thank you to our, we won't see you again until next week. So thank you to our, the soldiers and the troops who've sacrificed their life. We honor them, the fallen heroes on Memorial Day. But of course, we'll honor all our heroes on a Memorial Day weekend. So without them, we wouldn't have a country. We wouldn't have anything to debate. So thank you very much to them for their service. And there's no way we could ever repay you. But anyway, let me stop rambling. Thanks, everybody. Good night.